Hey moms, it's Laura Ollinger. Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today. I have Rachel Lavin, a health coach and author. I'm so excited to introduce you all to her. So Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself. What brings you to me today?
Hi, Laura. I love the idea of your podcast because what I do is talking to people about loving themselves from the inside out. But of course, in our society, especially if you're a woman, that usually is predicted on the size of your body. And I really want to kind of break the programming and break those molds and help people know that they can love themselves at any size. And I think it's so important that women understand that these conversations can't happen early enough with their kids. And not only just for little girls, but for little boys. And I don't want to jump ahead of you, but that's why I really wanted to chat with you today.
Good. Well, I think that I'm so glad you said boys because oftentimes people do think it is just for girls. And as a mom of 2 boys and 2 girls myself, I can tell you that the boys really do care about their body image just as much, if not more than the girls in some ways. There's a lot of competition these days. Like they're all working out, they're at the gym, they're checking themselves in the mirror. So I know there's like a lot of pressure for that. And so how did you tell us like your journey? How did you get into this work?
Absolutely. I've been in the fitness and wellness industry for over 20 years. Started off as a group X instructor, morphed into a personal trainer, morphed into a health coach, and all the while I had my own body image issues. So this is very personal for me and how I dealt with having just no self-love, no body image, not a healthy body image for over 40 years. And then finally I love that expression, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I started researching health at every size and how can I be this amazing female personal trainer even if I don't look like one. And I just realized that I had to start at the beginning. I had to start where my own trauma started and where my own feeling of all not being good enough and not always having the right size body came from. And that really helped me be able to help other people.
Yeah, yeah. And then tell us about the book. Like how did that come about?
Of course. Well, my book, The Donut Diaries, is my journey, my story, if you will, about how I accomplished being in this space to being in this space. And I don't want to give too much away, but I do share some personal stories. I really didn't want it to come across as a self-help book. I hoped it was more like you and I were chit-chatting on the couch, having coffee or drinks, and we were just talking. And I feel like I accomplished that. And I was very fortunate during 2020 that I had the time to really dedicate and get my book out in the world. It took me about a year, the whole pandemic, but 2021 is when it came out.
So I'm so glad that you're here today to address the moms because this is something that I think not a lot of us necessarily want to think about or address, but we know it's there, right? Like we know it's there every day when we get dressed or when we're trying on different clothes, or we've seen our bodies evolve because we've all had kids and they've changed over time and we're aging. And so it's kind of like almost like a feeling, when we initially think about it without putting a lot of thought into it. But there's a lot of layers here. And so then we think of ourselves as the models for our kids. And whether it's boys or girls, the language that we're using, even, the vibe we're giving off, sometimes language is nonverbal to our kids. And so talk to us about that. Like, how can we change the messaging? Our society is what it is. And I've gone back and forth with different things saying, well, we can't change society, but we can change how we think about it. But then I was like, well, wait a second. Who says we can't change society? Like, who's making up the rules of society? Can't we be the change? So, how do you address these feelings?
I love what you just said. I want to make sure I say that. And thank you for this opportunity because I think I come from two perspectives. I think that it's so valuable to have open conversations with your children. And I think it's impossible to always be upbeat about your body because of the things that you listed.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies change as women throughout our lives in so many different ways. And to have every single day, I love my body no matter what size, I think that's just not being honest.
Mm,
And I think changing the conversation to mom feels this way today, but you know what? Tomorrow is going to be different. And I take care of myself and I eat well and I move my body and I'm a happy person and I watch my stress. Like all those things come into play, and how your children see how you treat yourself. That's where they learn how to treat their bodies. And
mm-hmm.
coming from a household in the 80s and 90s where I am sure, I don't know how old you are, but I'm sure you remember every single week on the cover of Us Weekly, some new celebrity was trying a different diet, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was just in our face. Even though it still is, I think that it was ingrained in women, even like get your celebrities, get your baby body back, or however they
Mm,
worded it. And
mm-hmm.
it was just this pressure that you had to look a certain way for your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want women to understand that it's not that way, and it doesn't have to be that way, but it does start with you and your own relationship with your body. And then, like we talked about, and how that carries into your relationship with your kids.
Okay, so this is interesting. The timing is perfect for this conversation because we are filming this July 15th, 2024, but we'll air this episode in probably August, so it'll be after this event. But I have my 30-year high school reunion coming up in 2 weeks. And so that is like the most, I can't think of an occasion besides like a wedding that would be like the emphasis on appearance and body and how well we've preserved ourselves over these 30 years. A high school reunion is just like the quintessential event for that type of a thought process. And so I've had two conversations with my youngest daughter, who is 11, about this. And I told all my kids, because I wanted some accountability on this, I said, I'm giving myself a 30-day challenge to, work out every day for the next month until the reunion, because I just want to feel my best. I want to be feeling like I'm in my tip-top shape. And then I said to my daughter, because she asked me, Mom, did you do yet? It was like, last week, and I think I had missed a day. And she was asking me about it. And I said, well, it's funny because in some ways I want to feel my best, but in other ways I think, well, who cares? And who cares? Like, I'm going to see these people. I'll talk to them for a few hours. I'll see them again in 10 years. So why does it really matter what these people think of my biceps or my waistline or whatever, So then it got me thinking, like, okay, how much of it is for me to feel good and feel healthy and feel vibrant and have lots of energy and to feel strong versus trying to appease others, for a very surface level reason. So, like, are these the types of conversations you get in when you're coaching clients?
Absolutely. I think, again, the word programming is pretty important here, because I want women to understand that we are programmed to feel this way. We are programmed to feel that we always have to be thinking about our food and our body and our exercise and the size of our clothes. And although it is something that we can stop and we can change our mindset, I really have to meet my clients where they're at and understand that we're talking 40, 50, 60 years of these thoughts. It's impossible to, flip a switch and be like, oh, okay, I don't ever have to worry about that again.
Yeah.
But I do notice in women, like the conversation you had with your daughter and probably with yourself, it's like, on one hand, of course, I want to feel beautiful and look beautiful for that night. But at the same time, what does one evening really matter in my entire life? And I think that we have to realize that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel I want to look good and feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you doing to get there? Are you starving yourself? Are you going on a crash diet? Are you miserable for that 30-day challenge because you're doing all these stressful things to your body, instead of waking up and being like, I'm going to work out today because I want to look my best at my reunion?
Mm-hmm.
It might seem very simple in your mindset, but it really can change the way not only your body responds to the food and exercise that you're doing, but it really does kind of quantify how much fun you're going to have that night, because have you really been looking forward to it, or are you just doing this to your body because you think you have to?
Right, right. Okay, so that's a really interesting thought process that you could bring about with people and, really open their eyes up to like, why am I doing this? How am I doing this? Like, what's the purpose of doing it? Like, really just kind of going through all those deeper questions. So, yeah, I do have to say, like, I feel, well, I've never been a dieter. I'm not a diet type person. I just, eat whole foods, healthy foods, and it is what it is. Like, there's nothing to take out because I already am doing what I feel like, I'm pretty, there probably should be some tweaks here and there, but, overall I feel like pretty good. But like the idea was, it's like, okay, why not now? And I know I don't mean to make this all about like the reunion, but I feel like we all have these things where this is happening for us, like whether it's our child's graduation or whether they have a wedding to be in or different types of things. And so these are probably the same thought processes that go along with all those different things. And so that's what I'm thinking of, is like having those healthy thoughts about those types of events. And I think you kind of pinpointed like healthy kind of versus less healthy thoughts about these, but that it's kind of okay to be honest with ourselves. Like, why am I wanting this? Like, what is the purpose? So what is some like advice you give moms or women in general about these types of topics?
Absolutely. I think it's always important to meet the women where they're at. And I know I keep repeating myself, but the truth is women are at different thought processes as we age. And I think that depending on how old you are, you do get to a point in life where you're like, I just don't care anymore. I just want to be happy. And then there's stages of our lives where it's really kind of all consuming how we present ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's become, because I am in my 50s now, and but I can still remember my 30s. And I do remember having those feelings and wishing and looking back now that I had somebody that I could talk to. So I really try to be that sounding board for my clients and just put myself in their shoes and be able to relate to them in a way that maybe other people can't, because they're still in their programming. So I just meet you where you're at and say, hey, I've been there before. Here's a couple of things that we can do. You can always just not go if this is something that is causing you. And we'll keep using the reunion as an example, because I really think a lot of women feel this way. And you can just choose to not go, because why are you going to do this to yourself over and over again until the day of? And like you said, you haven't seen these people for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is their opinion going to do to you for the rest of your life? I think we don't think logically when we're in an emotional state. So I
Yeah.
think it's important for me as a coach to kind of bring you back down to, let's talk about the what ifs. Let's talk about your choices. You can go or not go. You can do
Mm-hmm.
this, you can do that. And I really try to keep myself in a place for me in my own practice that I want you to feel like you're being seen and heard.
Mm. Yeah, right. And because at the end of the day, we all want that connection. We all want to be seen and heard. And so whether we get that need met through a coach or, through these connections of these other people that I haven't seen in a long time, right? Like, it's like, that's what it's really all about. And I have a feeling that that's where you kind of that energy lies with the type of coaching that you do, because it's like that's what it's really about, is just that feeling of connection with others, and then also connection with self, like wanting to feel that good strong feeling about yourself and with yourself. So how does that resonate with you?
It feels very true. It feels good. I like that I was able to convey that to you, because that is how I want to come across to my clients and women in general. I always want to make you feel that I do have a responsibility to educate you that what you are doing, and point out to you that it's not working anymore.
Mm.
I always start off with new people by saying, are you open to doing the work that we're about to do that's going to get real uncomfortable? Because
Mm.
it does. It does. I mean, listen, when you've been feeling a certain way about your body for 5+ years, it's ingrained. It's who you are. And to
Mm-hmm.
be able to change that, it takes some looking back so you can move forward. And as long as people understand that and know that this is a judgment-free zone, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't promise that I can do anything for you other than just be there for you and share my own experiences with you.
And then I'm just curious if you ever touch on the idea of, as a woman, we want to have this body that we feel good about. And a lot of times that for the purpose of that is for like a romantic part, a spouse or significant other. Like, how do you coach a woman through that situation?
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up because, again, personal experience. For so many years, I wanted to be thin and small and feel beautiful so I could find love. And when
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I didn't love Rachel, and really none of that stuff matters when you're with the right person. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we all want to feel attractive and sexy to our boyfriend, partner, husband, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think we as women realize how much that comes from us, from our confidence, from loving ourselves, from loving our bodies. And again, I want to be honest and specific by saying there's nothing wrong with having moments in our life where I don't feel good because perfect example. I was small for a long time. My partner saw me in a smaller body for a long time. We left the city, the pandemic happened. I started going through menopause. My body is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Not once has he ever made me feel that he didn't love me anymore or that my changing body was a problem for him because we
Mm.
have established a trust in our relationship that he knows that you don't go there with me. You just don't.
Right.
Because I have worked so hard to come out of a shell that consumed me for so long that
Mm-hmm.
that's just not a topic of conversation that he gets an opinion about my body.
Right. And maybe for listeners, somebody's hearing this right now and they're like, oh, geez, and maybe that's a red flag for that relationship, that if your partner is making you feel insecure about your body in some way, that maybe that's not the right relationship for you or not the right partner, or maybe that's just a conversation that needs to be had where they need to set some boundaries around what is acceptable in that relationship. Okay, so just like, to kind of like circle up this conversation, do you have any stories of a client that you could share? And I know we're always very confidential as coaches, but just, an anonymous story about a client that you were really proud of, that you saw just an awesome transformation in.
Absolutely. I have been working with this woman and currently still do for 10 years now. And I remember her coming to me. She was in a bad relationship. She was in a bad job and she just was taking it all out on her body. And we started working together. And this was kind of when I was starting to do my research and feel like there's got to be a better way out there. I was keeping it to myself at the time. But when my book came out and we started talking about things, it was impossible to keep quiet. So when my book came out, we had a conversation. She said, I can't talk to you about this stuff anymore. And she kind of shut down on me. And I
Mm,
told her right then and there, I said, my journey is my journey. I don't expect you, because we work together, to be at the same level I'm at. What I
mm,
do want you to understand, what I am going to hold you to a new rule, is that you can talk to me about your feelings about your body, but you don't get to talk down about your body anymore. I don't want to hear any more about the jiggles or this. There's a difference between saying that and saying, I really feel just not good in my own skin today. And I started teaching my female clients the difference. And I think now it's like, I want to be strong. I'm going to be 60 this year and I lift 40 pounds. So to see that trajectory with my female clients has been just, it opens my heart and I love it so much. But, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna,
go for it.
just to be able to change that conversation for myself, I've
Mm-hmm.
guided other people to do the same. And I do love that because that's what I want to do. Women of every single age deserve to love their body no matter what. But I also want to teach how to take care of that vessel for as long as you can. So that's what I'm doing.
I love that. And my takeaway from that is kind of that I am versus I feel. And we're allowed to have these feelings and have that be a temporary thing, but to really build on the identity of I am. So I have similar things when I work with my teenage clients or my mom clients. And I have an 18-year-old girl the other day that she said, I am lazy. And I'm like, whoa, stop right there. We don't say that here. And you can say, I'm feeling lazy today. But as a human being, you are not a lazy person. And how can we change that identity for yourself? And so that almost translates to what we're saying about the body. Maybe today I'm not feeling blah, 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 but overall, I am strong. I am confident. I am energetic. I am all these other things. And that's the thing. And maybe this is like the perfect way to end it. We have a choice, right? We have the ability to make a decision. And if we're going to either choose negative or choose positive, we might as well choose positive, right? Because it's our choice. So why walk around for the rest of our lives feeling all negative and bad about ourselves when we can make that choice? And with the help of a coach, someone like you, we can choose to feel more positive and feel better. And then that honestly, it becomes very synergistic energy. Like it grows into other areas of your life, right? I bet you've seen that where you're feeling good about your body. And so therefore that opens up new doors or new possibilities or even new relationships or being a more positive role model for your kids, everything like that, right? It's just like it all feeds on each other, this like kind of upward spiral. So Rachel, how can people find you going forward?
Oh, thank you. I am Rachel Lavin, Lifestyle and Wellness. I just rebranded at the beginning of the year, so I'm still trying to say it. So Rachel Lavin, Lifestyle and Wellness. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and my website is of the same name.
Perfect. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes, and we so appreciate your time. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.